everyone! Welcome to another exciting episode of The Bible Project! Today, we're exploring the books of 1 Chronicles and 2 Chronicles, which retell the history of Israel with a special focus on God's promises, the temple, and the importance of faithful worship. Let's dive right in. The book of 1 Chronicles opens with long lists of names, what we call genealogy. But these aren't just names. They're all part of God's plan. From Adam to Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Joseph, and the tribes of Israel. It shows that God's people have been chosen by God since the very beginning. It's like a big family reunion. But instead of focusing on family drama, Chronicles highlights their relationship with God. We see God is hard for his people and how he has been with them every step of the way. Then we meet our main character, King David. You might know him as the boy who defeated the giant Goliath, or the man who danced before the Ark of the Covenant. In the book of Samuel, we saw David become king and defeat the Philistines. But Samuel ends with some serious drama. The people wanted a king like other nations, so God gave them Saul. But they rejected him because he wasn't like David. Then God gave them David, but he didn't live in Jerusalem, which wasn't like what the people wanted. So David couldn't build God a proper house either. Instead, we have this beautiful picture of David bringing the Ark of the Covenant to Jerusalem. It was a symbol of God's presence among his people. He wanted Jerusalem to be the place where everyone worshipped God. But bringing the Ark was dangerous. Only priests could carry it, and if anyone else touched it, they would die. But David was willing to risk everything, because he wanted God to be in the center of his kingdom. As a reward, God promised that David's dynasty would last forever. David then gathered materials and made plans for the temple, which his son Solomon would build. In 1 Chronicles, David isn't just a warrior king. He's someone who loves God and wants everyone to worship him. It's like having a superstar musician who doesn't just sing amazing songs, but also teaches others how to make music for God. That's what David does. He sets Israel's heart to worship God. Now let's turn to 2 Chronicles, chapter 1. It begins with God appearing to Solomon, David's son, and asking him, "What should I give you?" Now, normally when God asks you a question, it's a rhetorical question, meaning he already knows the answer. But here he genuinely wants Solomon to ask for anything he desires. Knowing this, Solomon could have asked for more land, more treasure, or even more power. But he did something amazing. He asked for wisdom to lead God's people wisely. Wow, what a choice. God was so pleased that he gave Solomon even more wisdom, wealth, and power. And so, Solomon became the wisest, richest, and most powerful king of Israel. In 2 Chronicles, chapters 2 through 9, we see how God keeps his promises to David. First, we see the construction of the magnificent temple of the Lord in Jerusalem. It was decorated with gold, silver, and precious stones. Imagine walking through those pearly gates and seeing everything sparkle in the light of the Shekinah glory. It must have been breathtaking. When the temple was finished and ready to be dedicated, the priests and Levites, the musicians and the people all came together. There was joyful singing, loud shouts, and even trumpets being blown. Everyone praised God for his amazing temple. And as the leaders were finishing their prayers, God poured out his Spirit on them. Suddenly, fire came down from heaven and consumed the burnt offerings and the fellowship offerings. What a sight to behold. God's presence filled the temple with fire and glory, showing that he was pleased with his people. Then Solomon prayed a prayer so powerful that it's still relevant today. He asked God to listen to the prayers of his people whenever they turned toward the temple. No matter where they were, no matter what they needed, God should hear their prayers as they came to the temple, which stood as a symbol of their faith and their connection to God. But as we read on, we notice that Solomon's heart starts to drift away from God. Despite having wisdom, wealth, and power, he followed other gods and goddesses. And though God warned him about this, he didn't listen. And so Chronicles reminds us that even the greatest leaders can make mistakes. They can choose wrong and turn away from God. In 2 Chronicles, chapters 10 through 36, we follow the kings of Judah, the line of David's descendants. Some kings like Jehoshaphat, Hezekiah, and Josiah are faithful to God and bring revival to the people. Others, lead them into sin and trouble. Throughout these stories, we learn about the importance of worship, obedience, and the temple, which is at the center of Israel's faith. However, many kings turn away from God and follow other gods. Despite warnings from prophets like Isaiah and Jeremiah, Judah refuses to turn back to God. Finally, in 2 Chronicles, chapter 36, we reach a sad part. Babylon invades Jerusalem, destroying the temple and carrying the people into exile. They had turned away from God so much that he allowed another nation to take over his land. However, there's a glimmer of hope at the end. The book finishes with the decree of King Cyrus of Persia, who allows the Jews to return to their land and rebuild the temple. God's promises aren't forgotten, and restoration is on the way. The books of 1st and 2nd Chronicles tell the story of Israel with a special focus on David, his dynasty, and the temple. They teach us that true strength comes from worshiping and obeying God. Kings rise and fall, but God's faithfulness never changes. Thank you for joining us today. If you want to explore the Bible more, visit the link in the description to get your free copy of the Holy Bible audiobook and listen to the complete books of Chronicles for yourself. Do not forget to subscribe to join us next time as we continue our journey through the amazing world of the Bible. Until then, may God bless you and guide you.